Guys, we've all seen the elections in Uganda recently. I mean, we call it elections, but it's more selection. Uh, we know that elections across Africa at this point, basically, it's basically a shit show. And elections in Africa at this point, it's like an entertainment for the poor people of Africa, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on. I mean, every country has their own situations, giving like countries like Uganda, they've had the same leader for over 40 plus years. So you would think that people would be sensible enough to understand that we have to have a change of leadership and move this country forward and not allow one family to become a monarchy in that country. You would think people would common sense, but of course, if you know anything about Africa, tribalism, nepotism, regionalism, sectionalism, the isms has killed and destroyed Africa, and that is the fundamental problem that we have. We saw what happened in Tanzania. We saw the elections in Sierra Leone 3 years ago, where the election results has not been announced up until this date. We saw the massacre of youths in Tanzania, and we've seen what's happening in Uganda. These guys are all taking a playbook now because they know probably the United States of America is not watching anymore. The State Department put out a message the other day, and they said the only elections that they would really care about is where the United States have, its own interest. Other than that, they would not be making comments about elections. So African leaders have become emboldened, and we're going to see more selections and not elections, and more coronations, across the continent of Africa moving forward. That is what we're going to see. So when you take somebody like Yoweri Museveni, who has been in power for over 40 years, and some of us were born, some people in Uganda have never known any other leader, and you see the way they are treating opposition, you get to understand exactly what it is. And the world closes their eyes, and they have these leaders with their military, their police. They are just, totally desecrating and destroying the lives of people that are asking for a change. We've seen the challenges that Bobby Wine has faced. Bobby Wine, everybody knows, has always won elections in Uganda. Everybody knows this. The international partners knows this. The CIA knows this. The FBI knows this. The United States knows this. All these European countries know this. But yet they will tell you it's sovereignty because again, it's none of their business. And that is the fundamental problem that we have in Africa. And I know the people are going to free themselves one day, but it's going to take a lot of bloodshed. It's not going to be easy. It's going to take somebody who's willing to give them arms and ammunition to stand up for themselves if the international partners don't do anything about it. So what I want to do here is just review, some of the latest updates and reports, in Uganda, and I'm sure you guys are aware and you guys know about it. And let's listen to this and see where it goes. But Africa as a continent is doomed. The people are doomed. It's going to take massive revolutions to be able to remove some of these guys in power. Tribalism is the reason why a lot of their own people support this kinds of nonsense because they're getting something out of it. Nothing much, but just a little enough for them to believe that their godfather is in power. And when their godfather is in power, they're in power. Let's listen to this report from DW.
The United Nations and various rights groups are sounding the alarm following reports of police killings and arrests in the wake of last week's presidential election in Uganda. President Yoweri Museveni was re-elected for a seventh term with more than 70% of the vote, according to official results. Those arrested are members of Bobi Wine's National Unity Platform party. Wine, the opposition leader seen here casting his ballot in Uganda's capital, Kampala, last Thursday, has rejected the official tally as fake and gone into hiding over fears for his safety. This comes as Museveni's son, Uganda's army chief, put out a series of messages on social media threatening opposition supporters. Now, DW managed to reach Bobi Wine by phone. Here's an excerpt from our interview with the opposition leader.
I am in hiding following a raid at my house by the military, commanded by the Chief of Defense Forces, Mohozi Kainerugaba, who happens to be Museveni's son, the guy that I ran against in last week's election. And the father went ahead to confirm it, that they were looking for me to harm me, and I had no option but to disappear because I could not get safety from anywhere, not any institution in Uganda.
Work today is broke.
This is the reality of what is actually happening. It's the reality of what is happening across Africa, and this guy has to run for his life because otherwise, uh, is it might be killed. And to back up this story, for a lot of you guys that are not on X or Twitter, I want you to listen to a testimony from his wife and the experience that his wife went through, so you guys could see exactly what we're talking about. You know, there is no reason for this level of barbarism. There is no reason for this level of thuggery. There's no reason. So if you haven't seen this on Twitter, on X, this is his wife. This is the testimony that she gave about the experience of what she went through when her house was attacked. This is Bobby Wine's wife. It's pathetic for Africa, man. It's really, really sad. So let's listen to this together. All right. It was posted on Twitter by this gentleman here that you see, Nicholas Bamulanzeki. All right. Listen together. So this is Bobby Wine's wife explaining what she went through in their house. Listen to it.
At around 10:30, I had my dinner and closed the house because I am alone at home. The people that we live with in our home, each one of them retreated to their place of abode. So when I switched off the lights in my bedroom, I switched on my side bed light to read at least 2 pages of the book I was reading. Then our askari called me. He told me these men have broken again, but this time they are more in number and they are not in the same uniform as that group that normally comes. So he said there are many, just prepare. So I asked him where he was, and he told me he was in a safe place. Our place is a very big place. He was in a place where we pump water from. So I switched off the phone, switched on the lights, put away some phones, and then locked the bedroom. But then I saw that wasn't wise. I opened the door to the veranda to get at least a video, some evidence, because such a number, I knew when they come, they'll take away every kind of evidence. So I took a video and sent it to my son and told him, Solomon, these people are here, but this time it's a bigger number, it's a different group. He said, can I post this? I said, please post it. Then I called our other son. I call him son, but I called Dax. Dax is Bobby's younger brother. I called him and said, Dax, this is the end. He said, what do you mean? I said, these people are here. So I locked the bedroom and then I walked downstairs. They had already put ladders at the front of the house. On those stairs, they had put ladders and were climbing to come to the veranda of our bedroom. So I locked the bedroom and walked down. Then I went to the bathroom, the general bathroom downstairs, and I called one of our neighbors. Everyone I called actually picked up very fast. I told him, we are in trouble, please alert the neighborhood. In that moment, they started saying in Nyangore, Igura. Then I came out of the bathroom and came to the sitting room. They were in the windows. Every window that you see on that house had like 7 people peeping through it. They said, Igura. And I said, Tinkuzabu Igura. They literally meaning open. And I said, I'm not going to open. Then I sat on the stairs. And they broke the door, broke the windows. A swarm of men, big muscles, height so high, they looked the same. When I looked down, they had almost the same shoe size. That group is a group that is selected. You can see that they selected them according to height, to weight, to size, to color. And they belong from one tribe. all swarming. At that moment, I looked down on the floor. Then I could see footsteps going to different directions of the house. Some going to the corridors, some going to the lounge, and some bypassed me on the stairs, and went upstairs. Now, in that moment, one of them came and told me, come and sit in the chair. I got off the stairs, I sat on the floor. Because in that moment, I wasn't sure my knees would allow me to stay in the chair. I sat on the floor. So he walked behind me, knelt behind me, and said, give me the phone. And I did this, I gave it to him. Then he said, remove the password. I said, I'm not removing the password. He said, in the password. And I said, password can I give? Then he walked past me with the phone, went outside, talked to some people, came in with 4 men. Extra. Already the sitting room has more men standing, some with hammers. Each one of them was armed. I have never seen such firearms. New, fresh. So ignore the other like 40, 50 that were in the sitting room. He called in new people. They came. When they came, he went back behind me. I was wearing my husband's nightie because these days I was feeling like I can't wear my nighties. Something is going to happen in that night. So I was wearing a biker, and on top of it, I was wearing the nightie. So he held the trousers of the nightie and pulled me up. Then he held the shirt of the nightie from the back. He was using one arm. So he held it, then he brought the phone in front of me and said, remove the password. I said, I have told you I will not remove the password. The one that he came with held me like here and lifted me off my feet in the neck like this. So when he lifted me, in self-defense, I kicked him because he was in front of me. So I kicked him in the groin, and then he walked away. This one pulled me, the buttons of my shirt broke, and he stayed with my shirt in his hands. Now, I just walked away from them and went and stood in one corner. But remember, this is a house full of men. Some looked away. Some were unbothered. One of them said in Uganda, Nedda mama muddize sata yambali. Then one of them held his hand and walked him out. One of them picked the shirt and said, put up your hands and I dress you up. I said, I can dress myself up, give me my shirt. Gave it to me, I put it on. Of course, the buttons were not on. And then I sat down. When I sat down, they lifted me again. Now, this time by these, because I play to these when I'm going to sleep. That same man held me by my hair, lifted me up. We have holes in the sitting room, and hit my head on the pole and slit my mouth. So when he hit me, he pulled me down and sat me down. Then he pushed my head and I went down, and they sat on me. I could feel 4 bodies seated on me. Then he said, will you give me the password? I said again in Unyankole, you have already done enough. You are not getting the password. There was someone who was like commanding them. He came and he said, what's happening here? We said, leave her alone. Then we sat. Meanwhile, in that moment, they were already upstairs, creating havoc. The ones who were outside were beating our askari and the other boy that we lived with. Some other group was already in our helper's room, picking her up from her house. Now, they bring her, she's holding her cross and her Bible. She is new, she doesn't know anything. They ask her, where is the controller room of this camera? She said, I am new, I don't know anything. They bring in the askari. They want to take him upstairs. He says, I have never gone that side. I don't know what's there. They ask him, where is the basement? And he said, I am new here. I know nothing like the basement. They ask him, where are the children? And he said, the children went for holidays after Christmas. Where did they go? And he said, I don't know. So in that moment, They were already picking the camera controllers, they were already picking the MiFi, they were already picking all the phones in the room. They took AirPods, chargers, power banks, hoofers, radios, anything electrical, laptops, everything. These people were drunk. The house was stinking. So in that moment I realized that it was not going to end. They took the girl out, they took the askari out, and then they started asking me, so you brought your brother to run in the Kampala MP seat. Did he win? You think you can just bring foreigners and bring them in Kampala and think they will win? And then another one asked me and says, he got married to I don't know what they call a winners. What do they call a winners in English? A winners is like a traitor. It's like the worst person that there can be in the world. He said, you married that traitor of a Uganda. Were you not seeing the Manyakuri? In that moment, I think out of rage, I started feeling dizzy. I started feeling hot. I asked for water. They brought me water. Those same people gave me my water. I drank it. And then the next time I got to see myself, I was sleeping in a pool of vomit on the veranda outside. And they were gone. So it is the askari who drove me out and brought me here. In that whole mix, we still had the police which has kept me under house arrest for 8 days. The other thing they kept asking me was, where is your husband? I told them I don't know where he is. They said, before we beat that round head of yours, where is your husband? I said, you can do whatever you like. I don't know where he is. They even asked the same thing to that guy. And he said, he went to vote, he came back the next day, I didn't see him because I work in the evening, so I don't know what time. That's how it was. But by the time they left, they had broken all the doors. They had broken all the windows. You'll see the pictures. They had pulled down the TV. They had caused half of everybody everywhere. Pulled my children's clothes out of wardrobes. Pulled beds out of the room. They had scratched the walls. They took anything that they felt was of value. This group was a group of murderers. It was a group of thieves. They took all my phones, and yeah. So, yeah.
There you have it, guys. If you're just joining, by the way, this is Bobby Wine's wife, Bobby Wine of Uganda, who everybody knows that is actually the winner of the elections in Uganda. But of course, for the past 4 or 5 elections, he's been denied his victory. So that was Bobby Wine's wife that you were watching. So the question you ask yourself is, Africa, why?
At
Right?
around
Why Africa?
10:30.
You know, these same patterns continue across the continent of Africa. These level of violence from these crazy leaders continue to happen. You know, yet they want people to see us as Africans very seriously. You have African leaders asking for seats at the United Nations and all of that kind of stuff. But simple elections in our country is going to be held free and fairly for the people to make a decision, when the election itself is a matter of the people making the decision for themselves as to who they want to govern them. But now that is not even allowed anymore. Africa has been taken over by dictators. They are the will and mercy of the people. The only countries you can remove from this is countries like, of course, Botswana. Some of these, countries that have really, you know, just held themselves to high standards, treating
Marcelo
themselves
Oneko is the
like
one
human
who spoke to
beings.
Bob.
So let's listen to again continuation of this report from Uganda by DW, so that you guys can see exactly what it is. But it's a disgrace. It is a
Wine.
shame.
Sela, you managed to reach him in hiding. Tell us about your conversation. What else did he tell you?
Yes, we managed to reach him last night, and he basically, I mean, he told us he had gone into hiding because of those threats against his life by General Muhoozi Kainerugaba. And also, one thing he also mentioned was he had escaped from his house where his family, his wife and family members are still there. So they're basically in the house surrounded by military and police. And he says they have no access to internet and also that they are running out of food. He says members of his team or supporters tried to reach them, tried to go to the house to bring them food, but they were not allowed to enter. He also spoke about the fact that although he's in hiding, he wanted Ugandans to basically take up his role and either peacefully protest or practice acts of civil disobedience. And so, yeah, so that is basically what he tried to convey in that phone conversation.
So he's calling on Ugandans to take action. How's his disappearance viewed by his compatriots?
It's basically almost a playbook that is played out during every election. So in the past elections, both he and the person before him, opposition leader Kizza Besigye, who also challenged President Museveni in previous years, they voted on election day and then they were basically placed under house arrest and weren't able to leave. The difference now is, of course, that Bobi Wine has gone into hiding. Last time around in 2021, he challenged election results in court. And he said, however, that he won't be doing that this time around because he does not trust the courts. So we'll have to see how this works out for him this time and when he'll come out of hiding.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned Kizza Besigye, the former opposition leader. There is concern about him. He's currently in jail facing treason charges. What can you tell us about his situation and his condition?
Yes, Kizza Besigye has been in jail for about a year after he was abducted, actually here in Nairobi, in Kenya, and taken over the border to Uganda to face treason charges, and he's being tried by the military court. Now, earlier this week, he was taken to hospital. There were pictures of him wearing a mask and in seemingly a bad condition. And he has also previously been on hunger strike. And his wife said that she fears for his life. And his wife and lawyers have been trying to get permission to get him to be seen by doctors and at a hospital of his choice. But the courts rejected this and said that he could be managed, his health could be managed in the prison itself.
Museveni's son, you mentioned.
Guys, you're on your own in Africa. The world does not care. Nobody cares. You see, that was the opposition leader who's currently in prison. Because, again, it was the former doctor of Yoweri Museveni, and he dared to challenge Yoweri Museveni. So now he's in prison. And he's not even allowed to see the doctors that he wants to see. It's a shame. It's a shame, guys. It's uh it's pathetic. It's pathetic. How resolve these problems across these dictatorships in Africa? But I can guarantee you, I believe the international partners themselves, they've given up and they are waiting for people, patriots that would actually do the right thing. And, you know, if they have to rebel, bring rebel wars in these countries, divide these countries up amongst ethnic lines, if that's what it has to do, if that's what has to happen. I mean, we've seen what happened in Rwanda, and everybody knows that, tribal war is not a good thing. But a lot of times, these leaders are being enabled by their tribal men and women. And that is why they continue to stay in power, because that's the problem in Africa. So I believe the international partners themselves, they've given up. I believe the international partners themselves, you know, they say, hey, if these people don't free themselves from what they're going through, then it's on them. We don't have nothing to do with that. It's their country, it's their sovereignty. You've seen this again and again. I had a video that I did where Lamrana interviewed the British High Commissioner to Sierra Leone, and she made it very clear that there's a line that they would not cross, and sovereignty is sovereignty. So the people of Africa, you're on your own. You're left to your own mercies, and if you don't do what's right, It might be very bloody, it might be, a very, but if you have to free yourselves from these crazy leaders that you have, these dictators, these authoritarians and stuff, it's on you. It's on you, the people, wanting to come together. They're not reasoning. There's no logic anymore with what these leaders are doing. They don't care about what you say, what you do, how you feel. Elections are just going to be manipulated moving forward across the continent of Africa. And sadly, the States Departments, the United States of America, and all of our European partners are dealing with other things. If you guys follow what's actually happening even in America now, we've seen a trend. Even white people are not spared right now in this administration. And I'm not saying this to be political or nothing like that, but I'm just saying the last two shootings that we've seen, basically of protesters, has been white folks. Good, Miss Good, and also recently Mr. Pretty. Who was a veteran and also a nurse, was recently shot up. And both of these people are white people. So it just tells you that we're living in different times, and I don't think the United States, really cares about what is actually happening, and you people are left on your own, your own mercy. So whatever you can do to free yourselves is up to you, and the ball is in your court. But I would say there's no point in even participating in elections right now across the continent of Africa, because a lot of these, it's a waste of time, continuously wasting the people's time to register, to this, to that, and all that stuff. And at the end of the day, only to, see that, you know, it turns out to be nothing but just crap, and that is what we've seen. So I say all that to say, regardless of what it is, we are on our own, guys. The people of Africa, you're on your own. And I think your best bet is to just, see what you can do to free yourselves. But I wanted to share this with you. And so you guys can see, I mean, I'm looking through my Twitter here. I don't even want to talk about this. It's a dead body tied behind a motorcycle, but it's a very sad time for the continent of Africa, and for the people of Africa. And it's my hope that the people will do the right thing. It is my hope that the patriots of Africa would stand up to do the right thing, to rescue their people, from the hands of these oppressive leaders. Because what is actually happening is beyond pale. It's just, it makes no sense anymore. People like myself, we just gotta continue to speak up and shine the lights on these issues. But the fact of the matter is, guys, we are on our own, and if we want to save ourselves, we can save ourselves. I mean, I can tell you, uh, across the world, it's just pathetic. People continue to want to run to go overseas to seek greener pasture because there are no opportunities, and it's a shame. It's ridiculous, and we see these elections now. It's no longer elections. It is just coronations. It is selection. It is not a matter of the will of the people anymore. It's just a matter of you know them being them making the selection for the people now, and that's very sad. That's very sad. That's very pathetic, and that is why people like myself are here, to shed light on stuff like this, and just don't know, what's the way forward at this point. Honestly, don't know what's the way forward at this point. Um, Hopefully, we'll make some sense out of the whole thing, but otherwise, uh, it's a wrap, man. It's a wrap. Otherwise, it's all over. There's nothing there. There's nothing there, and that is the sad reality. If you follow this, there's a brother here. His name is Jeffrey Smith on X. Basically, um, he has his YouTube channel as well, and you can listen to some of the interviews he does with folks in Uganda and all of that. And it's Kenya, Uganda, all these countries. We're all on our own, guys. We're all on our own. Let's listen to a little bit of this interview that he did recently, with somewhat. Let's listen to this.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Resistance Bureau. We are thrilled to kick off our first program of 2026 with you, our loyal community. Your continued support and belief in the power of voices rising against oppression fuels everything we do. Whether you've been with us from the beginning or are joining us anew, your passion helps us to make this space a beacon for change. So today, it is in this spirit that we welcome the Honorable Winnie Kiza, a trailblazing Ugandan parliamentarian and the country's first female leader of the opposition. Over her decades-long career in politics and outside of it, Winnie has championed democracy and human rights, founding the Winnie Kiza Foundation to empower and mentor youth and women while speaking out boldly on Uganda's many political challenges. This week, as the country's long-ruling despot, Yoweri Museveni, seeks another term in office amid
It's I know my mic was muted earlier, but I was just saying, guys, we on our own, guys. Everybody, we on our own. All right. It's sad. Bye bye, guys. I'll try to do a proper live maybe tomorrow again.